If you listen to our Rats episode, you may remember the name of Colonel Carlos Brillante Ustra. It was kind of Dan, I think, may have mentioned some about him when I was having my technical difficulties, and it became the Dan Show. And I spoke a little bit of him after I came back. He was the head torturer for the military dictatorship during the Years of Lead in Brazil. And his favorite thing to do, or to order be done, was to have prisoners put up in the parrot's perch and then electrocuted.
Jesus.
Usually in the genitals.
I was going to say, yeah, let me guess, right in the balls, yeah.
Electrified boards would be slapped against the privates of both men and women of all ages. And if the torturer, or in many cases the police officer, was in a fairly randy mood, the female prisoners would be trigger warning for sexual assault. You might want to hop forward a few seconds if this type of stuff really bothers you. They would be by an electrified broomstick.
No, I'm not anymore. Okay. Way to kill the mood. Jose Cuervo, whatever the hell his name was.
Jose Cuervo Ustra, his last name.
Oh, whatever. His first name Jose, was it? Was I right?
No, Carlos.
I can't remember. Whatever.
It was one of those names. It was a name of some sort.
Damn you,
in that
Hispanic
instance,
guy.
You were right. It was a name. But yeah, that's not all. If they still didn't give the answers they were looking for, you could get beaten until your bones broke, whipped until you bled, and dunked. Now, for this, they would hang you over a pool of water and lower you in until your head was submerged, and they would leave you there until you stopped squirming. Long enough to simulate drowning, but not long enough to actually kill you, hopefully. Or they would just pour water into your mouth and nose and let you gasp for air. Pretty much
waterboarding.
Waterboarding without the cloth. Yeah.
It's like a torture omnibus. No.
I don't know what my dog is doing, but I can hear him running through the house and his nails all over the kitchen floor.
You got excited when you heard about the electrified broom.
Electrified genitals. He's like, I don't have nuts. Yay!
Do your worst.
He'd probably like it. He's a weird dog. Yeah. So they even had torture classes back then, where students would learn what criminals go through if they dared break the law. One of the guinea pigs for these classes was a young woman by the name of Dulce Chavez Pandolfi, a student and member of the armed guerrilla group, the National Liberation Alliance, fighting against the dictatorship. So she's arrested, obviously for being a guerrilla fighter. Sits in prison for a while, about 2 months. Then she's stripped naked, put in the parrot's perch, and carried into one of these classes, where, of course, she was tortured, mostly by electrocution, until she began to feel ill. So they took her back to her cell. Now, why you would take her back to her cell because she's feeling ill, I don't know. The whole purpose is to torture her.
Yeah.
But
please stop torturing me. I feel sick. Oh, okay.
You know what? Can I get a slip from the doctor so I don't have to go today because I have a tummy ache? I don't know if they
it's like, sorry, you've used all your sick leave days for the year.
But I have a personal vacation day waiting. I have one of those. So they took her back to her cell. A doctor came in, took her blood pressure, and then said, she's all right. She can continue.
Then she gets the union involved. I guess on to torture human resources.
So they came, took her back out to the yard this time, not to the class, outside, tied her to a post, and had the students play Russian roulette with her several times over. And they put a bag on her head, rip the bag off. When take the bag off, she's got a gun pointing at her face. It's got one bullet in the chamber, and they just start letting the students, spin the barrel and then pull the trigger. Luckily, she lived to see the fall of the dictatorship, and later. But still, yeah, terrifying. Deer hunter memories.
Yeah, it's very very lucky, those odds to not have anything happen.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It didn't say how many times and how many students. It just said several of the students got to handle the gun and play Russian roulette with her.
So 2 or 3 and you're already using up all your luck.
Yeah, pretty much.
With that,
one, and you're very, you've the odds are in your favor. Anything after that, and they are no longer. Especially if it's a spin, and then click, 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 and they just keep pulling the trigger.
No.
If it's a spin, pull, maybe. But if they just keep pulling the trigger, that's a problem. Though it's said that in the 4 years Ustra was the head torturer, 502 people were tortured and 40 murdered. Many of them went through the same type of torment. The Perch was used on almost all of them, including a one Dilma Rousseff. Again, I'm probably destroying these names. Some of you might know that name if I pronounced it correctly. I'm guessing most of you don't. I didn't until I did my reading, because I don't try to stay abreast of 100% of everything that's going on in the world, especially
Why not?
a few years ago. But
for shame, Kevin.
I know.
Keep up our current affairs everywhere. God damn it.
I'm not an expert in the cultural ongoings of Brazil. I apologize. It's one of my downfalls. I'm working on it.
Good for you. Anyway, continue.
So, Dilma, a student at the Federal University of Minas Gerais, which, again, probably not right, in the late 60s and early 70s, joined the National Liberation Commandos at age 20, a militant group dedicated to fighting the military dictatorship. Again. Now, at age 22, she was arrested and taken to a place called the Tower, because it was a tower. See how that works? Apparently,
L Tower,
L Tower. So while in prison there, she was stripped. She goes into a whole big thing about how they created a whole community there with people before and after they were tortured and all this stuff. I'm not gonna get into that because that's not what it's about. But while she was in prison there, she was stripped naked, put in the parrot's perch, beaten, left on the cold floor naked, and possibly even all while she's in the perch. It's not like they put her in it, beat her, and let her go. They put her in it, beat her, left her on the ground in it, and then she didn't want to get into all the details of it. But there's a good possibility that while she was on the ground in the parrot's perch, she was also. But she would be eventually released about 3 years later and survive the dictatorship and go on in 2011 to become the first female president of Brazil.
Oh.
Yes. She served in a few cabinets for different leaders and advisory positions, but yeah, eventually she worked her way up to becoming the president of Brazil. And when they eventually impeach her, because Brazil politically just kind of goes all over the goddamn place, they used this against her. So she was captured and tortured, so she shouldn't be president. How that works.
All right, so they kind of as if she isn't of stable mind.
Well, the people who were going against her, like Bolsonaro, who became president a few years ago and then was, voted out. He did. So I don't remember I don't know if you remember or were privy to the election of 2016 here when Trump ended up winning. But him and John McCain had this kind of this beef, and because John McCain was a war hero who got captured, stayed, he was a POW in Vietnam. Trump had said something along the lines of, "I like my heroes who haven't been captured," which is a stupid.
Make him out to be a weaker person because he got captured.
That's kind of the route they had taken with her.
Right.
Yeah. So,
okay, yeah.
Yeah, just being genuine assholes about it. Yeah. So when did this all start? When did the parrot's perch become a Brazilian torture staple? Well, for that we have to go all the way back.